FedEx guy for almost 10 years. The two podcasts I listen to every morning were TYT and MR. I don't want to start shit between your programs, but Anna repeatedly downplays Project 2025, stating that all the fear-mongering during his first administration didn't come to pass, not understanding that administration's competence as well as those in his... All right, I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but you mentioned, yeah, now she's against calling Trump a fascist. I did see this. So, you know, I mean, look...
I just thought that was bait, though. Like, no offense, I'll let you get into it, but like, I saw that tweet yesterday, and I was like, "Is this not just like bait? It's not engagement bait."
A trial period.
Like, it was just like wrong. Like every point in it was like incorrect about fascism, about like Trump. Yeah. So like, it was just some words.
Well, I guess
Emma is going after her friend here, Anna Kasparian. This is Emma Vigeland of The Majority Report, and we're going to take a journey. Sam Cedars going to make an appearance. You're going to see Cenk Uygur make an appearance here. But this journey that we're going to take is really about Emma Vigeland and Anna Kasparian. The Majority Report, both very prominent on the left, women in the influencer world. Emma Vigeland and Anna Kasparian, a journey.
Yes, we'll comment on it just because, like, look, I mean, I'm just couching this by saying that, you know, it's not a personal attack. This is one about substance, right? And, you know, Anna in the past has been supportive and a good friend to me. So I feel compelled to say it's not personal, but I do feel like this is dangerous, what I saw yesterday. You know, to downplay Trump's threat to this country right now in this moment, for me, this is not an unaligned or an independent opinion. To me, this is to the right of Nikki Haley voters. This is, I saw this on Twitter, Anna Kasparian here basically reacting to, this wasn't J.D. Vance's comments. This was basically a conversation about fascism. I didn't have the full context.
Earlier, they were listening to Miko Brzezinski on The View, who got emotional talking about Trump's threat as a, you know, fascist presence in the U.S. and what might happen if he becomes elected.
Okay, gotcha.
And that's where this stemmed from, where they started to talk about fascism.
All right, here we go.
So we're getting a lot of feminine energy here. And this isn't going to be about knocking feminism or the feminine energy necessarily. But we do have some feminine energy here, being scared of he's a fascist. You're going to hear Emma Vigeland after she plays this clip with Anna Kasparian, Cenk Uygur, of course, the Young Turks. You're going to hear Emma Vigeland express fear, and she's going to define fascism, and you're going to hear the fear in her voice. Let's get to the clip.
Trump is deeply racist and he says deeply racist things, okay? I want to make a distinction between Donald Trump, the person who says and does racist things, and the notion of a fascist. Because look, if we're just going to use fascist toward anyone we dislike, all right, then the word doesn't actually mean anything.
Okay, how weird. You're using racist and Trump is racist? Is that, do you really? She honestly believes that. And in the same sentence, with the same comparison, is saying, well, we can't call him a fascist. But you don't have any reason to call him a racist, much less. So neither one of the terms makes sense. So she's saying, yeah, he's a racist, but let's not call him a fascist.
What do you want me to say, Anna? You want me to say wannabe dictator?
Sure, you can say wannabe dictator, but I don't even think he wants to be a dictator.
Of course he does. That's what you do when you lose an election and you go, oh, I got fake electors. And I'd like to terminate the Constitution and bring out the tanks and use martial law against American citizens and shoot protesters. I mean, if that's not fascist, then I guess the word just shouldn't exist.
But was he able to do those things?
First of all, his entire cabinet had to threaten, not cabinet, administration, his White House team had to say, we're all going to mass resign if you roll out tanks against American citizens.
Okay, so if you think he's a fascist, wouldn't that justify taking physical action against him?
No, because that doesn't help. That devolves us further into fascism.
Whoa, what a straw man. Exactly. Can you pause it, actually?
There's a difference between somebody
I guess I didn't see that part, but what I mean,
if he's a fascist, why aren't you? What is the guy who tried to kill Hitler? Ribbentrop or something like that?
Right.
No,
I mean,
Ribbentrop. Yeah,
it's a way to continue to delegitimize what Cenk is saying there, and Cenk is absolutely right. I mean, look, if she wants a definition, fascism is a political ideology that started. It's an outgrowth of Mussolini and Hitler's reigns at the start of the 20th century. You can characterize it as highly militaristic, nationalistic, anti-democratic, a political movement that encourages violence against leftists, against LGBTQ people, minority groups. Sorry, what'd you say, Brandon?
I said marginalized groups. Yeah, go ahead.
Marginalized groups, right? Or anyone that's opposing you, and that can involve like a consolidation of power for the wealthy. I mean, the definitions of fascism are quite well established, but
no, they're not. What did you just say? The definitions? What, the word has multiple definitions? Are we talking about it? When you say fascism, she's saying multiple definitions. So when she says it, it applies to 10 different things. What does it mean? So Anna Kasparian's actually right when she says, what is this fascism? It doesn't even mean anything anymore. She should apply that same thing to the word racism, though. But she is right. Anna Kasparian is right on fascism. And Cenk has good points, but he goes off on this. Trump did this, Trump did that. The classic definition for me that I've been using, now I'll look up and see what they say online here as the official, I want a concise definition. If you're going to define a word for me, Emma Vigeland, Anna Kasparian, I need it to be defined. If you can't define it concisely, it's not defined. So I had to go through the same thing with populism. I'm not making up, but I'm making my own definition for a lot of these terms. Let me show you the definition of woke. How do you define woke? It's got to be tight. It's got to be concise. So I have my definition of woke is allowing an authority outside of God to define your moral foundation or compass. One more time. Woke is allowing an authority outside of God to define your morality. That's my definition. I don't know what anybody else means by it. You will have to tell me what you mean by it. There's no right or wrong. Whoever has the power to define it can, just like when, remember, vaccine, the definition of vaccine changed. I was reading a book to my son about the vaccine in 2018, what a vaccine is. I'm not going to get sidetracked, but after the koof, the definition changed. Why? Because there's people who had the power to change the definition. I didn't change the definition. Somebody else did. Another word, populism. A lot of people don't know what that means. I'll tell you what I mean when I say I don't know what you mean or what Webster means. I don't care. My definition of populism is dividing centralized power among as many people as possible. That's what it's not popularism, it's populism. Again, one more time. Populism is, and the reason why I'm doing this is I'm saying fascism needs to be tight. If it's not tight, get out of my face with that nonsense. I can't talk to you. I don't know what you mean. I'll give you my definition of populism again, but listen to this verbal vomit.
What's a definition? Fascism is a political ideology that started. It's an outgrowth of Mussolini and Hitler's.
That's not a definition. An outgrowth of Mussolini. That's a history lesson. That's not a definition yet.
Reigns at the start of the 20th century. You can characterize it as highly militaristic, nationalistic.
Highly militaristic and nationalistic. That's not a definition. Does it have to be both? How much does it? What does that mean?
Anti-democratic, a political movement that encourages violence.
I don't know is it all of these things? Is it some of these things? So is Antifa fascist? They're supposed to be anti-fascist, but doesn't everything she say apply to the anti-group?
That's what Cenk is saying there, and Cenk is absolutely right. I mean, look, if she wants a definition, fascism is a political ideology that started. It's an outgrowth of Mussolini and Hitler's reigns at the start of the 20th century.
That can't be in the definition for me. That's your history lesson. That doesn't define what it is when you say it now. No, that doesn't
characterize it as highly militaristic.
That sounds like the anti-fi group.
Nationalistic.
They're not nationalistic, but
anti-democratic, a political movement that encourages violence against leftists, against.
Oh, so it's only against leftists? What is a leftist? You're defining a word with words I can't even. Who's a leftist? Am I a leftist? I believe in universal basic income. I believe in universal health care. Am I a leftist? I'm not didn't vote for Trump, but I'm not anti-Trump. I voted for Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. I like Steve Bannon, one of my favorite figures. I like Jimmy Dore. What is that? Against leftism? So if somebody attacks me for not liking for me liking UBI, then they're a fascist? I'm peaceful. I'm anti-violence. So what?
LGBTQ people, minority groups. Sorry, what did you say, Brandon?
Marginalized groups. This is word vomit. This is embarrassing. This is embarrassing, Emma. You're better than this.
Marginalized groups. Yeah, go ahead.
Marginalized groups, right? Or anyone that's opposing you, and that can involve like
I don't care if your definition doesn't match mine, but you have to have a definition that we can pin down, so I know what you mean. Who's a marginalized group? What is this?
Consolidation of power for the wealthy. I mean, the definitions of fascism are quite well established, but forced deportation.
Okay, not by you, they're not. Let's take a look and see if I can get one. So I asked, I'm in Perplexity AI. I asked it for a concise definition of fascism. And it said fascism is a far right. I don't know what right is, so that doesn't work for me. Authoritarian, ultra-nationalist political ideology. So what does that mean? What does ultra-nationalist mean? So now I need to know what that means. Am I just a nationalist? I believe right now we need an immigration moratorium, but long term, I think I'm fine with immigration long term, but somehow you have to only migrate or accept people in who believe in a close enough interpretation of the Bill of Rights that I do or the country does. How do you do that? Am I just a semi-nationalist because of that? There's an ultra-nationalist. Never. Is Japan ultra-nationalist because of this? Okay, it's a political ideology, dictatorial power, forcible suppression of opposition. This sounds like the Democrat Party. It sounds like Emma Vigeland. Strong regimentation of society, and they're not nationalists, but they're dictatorial. They do forcible suppression of opposition. Strong regimentation of society and the economy. Sounds like a Democrat so far. And it could be a Republican too. Extreme nationalism. Okay, so that doesn't see that's the separation. And often racism. The racism doesn't even. What is racism? No, I don't buy that. Nationalism, we can talk about it. But that's why so far the only distinguishing trait is nationalism, which you would just say they're a nationalist. Contempt for electoral democracy and political cultural liberalism. Well, that's not Trump. He went through the electoral process. If he had contempt for the electoral democracy, then he wouldn't have gone through the electoral democracy to win in 2024. Belief in natural social hierarchy and rule of elites. Desire to create a people's community where individual interests are. This is ridiculous. Economically, so now there's an economic fascism. Economic fascism involves strict government control over market economy, often through corporatist structures that merge state and business leaderships. That's the definition that, for me, I don't like saying the economic. Fascism is the merger of the state, which is the government, not a literal state, merger of the state and business leadership and businesses. So the relationship we see with Donald Trump and Elon Musk is, by my definition, fascistic. It is a fascistic relationship, hands down, no question. So what? What's your point? Was the relationship between Joe Biden and Twitter before Elon took over fascistic? Was the relationship between Joe Biden and Mark Zuckerberg, was that fascistic? These relationships, when Joe Biden didn't invite Elon Musk to the electric vehicle summit, Elon Musk only is the CEO of the greatest American company that's ever been created, the number one electric vehicle company in the world, the number one automated American employer of car manufacturing in the U.S., he wasn't invited. Was that fascistic when Joe Biden teamed up with GM to make sure that Elon Musk wasn't invited, which actually triggered Elon Musk? Why do you think Elon Musk did all this stuff going fascistic against Trump? Why do you think Mark Cuban went fascistic trying to support Kamala Harris? Then he saw that ship was sinking. Then he said, I'm not that too much in her. Trump, can I get on board? Yes. Is it straight up fascism? No, we still have these checks and balances, but it is an attempt at fascism, what Elon Musk is doing with Trump. If Emma Vigeland said that, I got you. Concise definition, it applies across the board. But you spew all this verbal trash, and that's what you've become. So let's get back to the clip. Well, actually, I'm going to go to the second. I've got this broken down in multiple clips. This is a journey. Buckle up. I'm going to have to break this up. This is just, the journey is too big. Look out for part 2. This is after show carnage. It is a journey that a lot of these end up with laughs or anger or resolution. This one has a different ending. You're going to have to keep on, sub to the channel, hit notification, comment on the video. Make sure you get these in your feed. We're going to do another part on this one.